Hello, this is a tradesight trade review and recap for the trading session of Wednesday, April 3rd, 2013. I wanted to talk specifically about this session because finally, after a couple of weeks of very light volume in the markets, we finally saw an increase. It still isn't quite the type of volume that we like to see. I prefer to see closer to 2 billion shares or more on the NASDAQ to get a really solid trading session, but we were back up to 1.7. That's an improvement from a lot of the 1.4 and 1.5 billion share days that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. And with it came, even though there was no gap in the market, we got a flat opening, but it came an almost immediate move in the market. There's a couple things we can talk about, and then I'm going to show you some of the stock picks that triggered as we had full downside consensus in the market. But this is the ES, this is the S&P E-mini futures contract in 5-minute bars with the open right here. You can see we closed yesterday and then opened immediately. And the second bar took us lower. By that point, we were heading down. This is our market directional tool for eSignal, and basically we use these lines to gauge whether market direction is green or red. You'll see that there's 1, 2, 3 red lines here. When you're under 2 of those lines, the market direction is red, and the lines will change color as you cross back above them, so you can see for a few minutes this lower line turned green as the market got above it. But for the most part, and this is the first time we've seen this in a while, this was a fairly red session in terms of market direction the entire day. We were never back above the opening level, which is this line here. We were never really back above the midpoint. We tested it once at the 30-minute mark and then dropped. We never even really came into play the VWAP, and this has been something that we get tired of saying over and over again in the room. Usually we come back from lunch and we're sitting on the VWAP because nothing's going on in the market. We never even retested it after the first 30 minutes or so today. So that means that there was definitely some pressure and movement in the market. In this case, it was to the downside. And the other thing that's interesting is, for those of you who understand our Seeker and Comer tools, which are very powerful exhaustion signals, what you're going to notice is that we had a 9-bar setup fairly early on with the Seeker and the Comer, and that count got recycled with another 9-bar setup here, and then another 9-bar setup that recycled that one, and a four separate 9-bar setups today. And a couple things that means. First of all, the reason that it recycles the prior count, we were looking for the 1 to 13 count after the 9-bar setup, is because the new 9-bar setup indicates there's still downward pressure in the market, and so it's erasing the reversal signal. And to have 4 of them in a row, or 4 of them inside of one day, is very significant and really bodes negatively for tomorrow's session in the market. And I think we're starting to get to that breaking point where the sequester isn't ending, a lot of people getting furloughed and laid off because of it, and it's going to start to have its impact on the economy and the market if it doesn't get resolved soon. And that's why we're actually starting to see volume tick up, but the market's going to roll to the downside because of it. So good for us from a trading perspective, not necessarily great from the market's perspective. But I think today was very telling in that we got, even though we had such a big move, we never got a 13 buy or sell signal on the Seeker or the Comer. Last week, you'll recall, we had a day that had one 9-bar setup and got a Comer buy signal, and that was the low of the session. And that was the first time in almost 3 weeks that we'd actually had a full signal. This time we're getting 4 setup phases and no signal, which is really, really interesting. Let's take a look at some of what that meant to some of our stock picks. So this is Amazon, and one of the stocks that we had today short, and I had called this one short under 260.94. That's this blue line right here. But again, you've got full consensus support of the market on the downside the whole day, and that never really turned. I mean, we never made it back to the VWAP. We never did anything. So again, the short worked very well here on the Amazon without even really pausing at any point in time. Let's take a look also at the net. Which is here. Rich had a call on Netflix short under 174.10, and right as the market started to roll early, this was based on a prior point on the chart. You can see this led to a really, really, really nice downside push as well. And then we'll also take a look at his FAS, which he had short under 54.73. That's this line right here. Again, look at this thing, just ran all day with the market. We ended up with winners in the futures, a lot of winners in stocks. What's interesting is, despite the light volume last week, we won 17 of our last 18 picks that triggered with market support since last Friday. Today we were 7 for 10 again. So we've had 24 out of 28 of our last calls work. Some of them worked very well. And you should have had a nice green day in the market. And again, it makes all the difference in the world when market volume picks up as we saw it. And I think also the action in the futures today is not bullish for tomorrow's action. Thursday's action in the markets. Let's hope volume picks up even more. Have a great trading day.